What's going on, everybody? It's TripleCrown24 back today, here to discuss for what will hopefully be a series, and no, not one of those series I start and stop over and over, an actual series where I kind of show off some of my collections that I buy. Just talk about the various things I look for, give my insights. I was really surprised that I had a lot of requests to do this. By a lot, I mean like maybe like a handful or so, but I've had some people ask, before, like, what do you typically look for? Or I've had suggestions to even make a video showing off some of the collections. So I'm going to do that today. And if it works out well, we'll keep doing it. And hopefully each time I can talk about something with it as well. I'm going to do this one live and I'm going to try to treat it like a normal video. If someone wants to come in and watch, then that's perfectly fine. And hopefully I can respond to comments. That's why I put the live Q&A in there. But today I'm going to be showing off a collection that I purchased slash traded for just over 300 cards. One of them has already been claimed, so that one will not be shown because it's already packaged up. But can show off the rest and kind of talk about certain things in terms of buying collections. So today's focus of this episode, if you will, I'm just also going to check my channel to make sure that that it's actually streaming. There we go. Okay, it is streaming. What's up, Andy? First thing I want to talk about really is just knowing the situation that you're getting yourself into. So when you're going to look at a collection, it's good to kind of get an idea beforehand. Most of the times, you'll probably find it through an internet ad or some kind of photo is usually attached to it. Maybe it's with a Facebook Marketplace posting. Maybe it's on a Craigslist, or maybe you're contacted by someone and you kind of get a brief general overview of what you're getting into. And it's good to kind of go into that, but it's also good to have an open mind. And most of the time, when I hear someone talk about a collection, I think about the same thing that everyone else does. Like, oh, this is probably going to be a bunch of 80s and 90s cards as usual, and kind of dismissive. And you want to keep an open mind, definitely. Thanks for everyone who's joining me, by the way. What's up, Ken? Hey, Ken. Ken and Ken both here. What's up, 357? So, first thing I'm going to show off today is just the overall presentation. So, these cards that I received, they were actually, funny enough, they were in a shoebox. Um, and one of the things that I'm going to look at right away, just in terms of first looking at, is that they're all sleeved and top loaded, as you can see. And that to me really says a lot. That means that this person who owned these took care of their cards. They knew to protect their cards, that their cards had value. And the fact that they, I take that as a compliment, Ken. Appreciate you tuning in. The fact that they took care of these like this means a lot to me. Another thing, too, and I'm sure that there will be someone in the comments of this video when this is archived who goes hashtag card sniffer, but to actually smell the collection. I know it sounds absolutely ridiculous. The reason I say that is because your sense of smell can actually pick up on things such as smoke damage. You do not want a collection that has an odor to it, because it makes those cards potentially contaminants to your other cards that you may have in your inventory, or if you're just buying the collection for fun to bring it into your house. I've had times where I've had collections that had smoke smell to them come into my room, and I could still smell it maybe days after in the most extreme cases. And as a non-smoker, it was not very pleasant. So, making sure that, and also just checking for visuals such as water damage that can cause mold. You definitely don't want that on any of your cards. So, the shoebox that I have down here, it's actually on the ground. Yeah, there's no signs of water damage there, and the fact that all the cards are top loaded and there's no odor that's emanating from it is a good sign to me that there's going to be some good stuff in there, or at least it's just going to be stuff that is well maintained, and that opens up a lot of possibilities. If there are raw cards in here that maybe I want to grade, maybe there's something else. So let me start actually showing off the cards. This lot actually did feature some slabs, and most of these slabs are not anything that's super rare, that's gonna blow your mind, but it's just kind of solid staple cards, if you will. Hashtag card sniffers. You gotta join the card sniffer club. I've had that experience before too, Ken. By the way, if you guys have any questions as we go along, I would be happy to answer them. But uh, let's keep rolling. I kind of have an idea of what I want to talk about here. So here's a Joe Burrow from Don Russ SGC 95. The rest of these are going to be PSA slabs. It's uh, very heavy on football and basketball, but there is some baseball in this too. And you'll notice a theme here as I show off these slabs. I won't read them out individually, I'll just show them off. There's a couple of 10s in here, then there's some 9s, and then there's some things below 9s. And a lot of these slabs are not particularly the most valuable, um, but they may have high pop counts as well. And that kind of presents a challenge. I don't typically go after too many things that are very common to find because in order to make that sale, you're going to have to either have A, the lowest price, or B, have a loyal customer come back to you, or C, get lucky. And that's one of those things where, pick your poison on those. What's up, Scott? Yep, in the new office today. So as you look through some of these slabs, I don't think that there's anything here that we haven't seen before. A lot of these are heavily graded cards. In fact, there's probably quite a few more of these in the PSA backlog as well. And some of these slabs as well are also kind of scuffed. You can kind of see it here on this Gianna slab. Well, maybe not, it's really shiny. But there's some scuffing on it as well, which does present a problem. So what I try to do is I try to find some stuff to go along with it, or I'm going to try to buy some of these more common cards at prices that are easier to move because I want to be able to offer people prices. If everyone at the show has the same card, what is going to make them stop and buy mine? Maybe I have something else that they want that's rare. That's usually one of my strategies, but another one is to give them a deal, and everyone loves to get a deal. So typically on the more common stuff, that is going to be the goal is to get it at the lowest price possible. Something that's a little bit more rare, I'm more willing to pay up just because, well, you get to set the market a little bit easier. And then you get some of these slabs here, like Adam Hazley. No disrespect to all my Philly fans out there, but Adam Hazley is probably not the most desirable PSA 10 card that you could have out there. But people do like to buy their 10s, and if you can get a 10 for less than the cost of grading, people do enjoy that. Here's a cool Tim Duncan card. It's a finest card here. And the finest Tim Duncan rookie isn't, I would say, the most desired one. I think the Topps Chrome is probably number one if you're looking for just base rookies, but it's still a really cool card and a card that I now have the flexibility because I got these cards and priced out these uh, more easier to acquire, I would say, or they're more plentiful cards. I'm able to price them out in a way where someone can get a really good deal, now get a Tim Duncan rookie in their collection. So that's kind of the idea of it. You get a few things too that you don't normally see, like Carl Anthony Towns, probably not a guy who has a ton of graded stuff out there just because his rookie year still kind of before grading has exploded to what we see today. What's up, Jay Mai? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I appreciate you checking out the channel. I really do appreciate you checking out the interview. That interview is actually one of the reasons that inspired me to do this video today because I know that I got some really good feedback on that, and I think a lot of people do take interest in some of this stuff. So we'll see how this one goes. We'll see if people want to hear more about this. Here's a couple of Lucas. There's an example here. And Jeff, if you guys are watching the archive version, you can check out the live chat replay to see the people who I'm talking to here. Or if you're joining us live, then you'll be able to follow along. But Jeff did say they're by the card, not the grade. Here's an example of that. Luca rookie shock prism. This one is an 8. And again, having an 8, I'm not going to probably get top dollar for this, and I'm not going to ask top dollar compared to other 8s. But someone who really wants this card might be able to get it at a price, especially if it's at a show, where they can get it much cheaper than they would otherwise. So I have that flexibility, and it is nice to have. Here's an interesting one here. So I'm going to show this slab, and people are going to be like, "What is going on here?" So I've seen a couple of these floating around. This is kind of some amalgamation of a PSA and HGA slab that has like the same dimensions as a PSA slab and the same like texture, but it has kind of this HGA thing. This is RCG. And usually if you're outside of PSA, BGS, or SGC, or I guess even CSG now, I am going to crack these out. Just because I don't want the assigned grades on these. They aren't from a company that I can kind of put my stamp of approval on. So if you do sell graded cards, I do highly recommend that you want to. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff, I got that backwards. You do want to make sure that you're putting your stamp of approval on it too. Like in my store, I do sell BGS, SGC, PSA, CSG cards because I do believe in all four of those grading companies. They have a reputation, and and I can stand behind their grades. I can say that in most cases they are graded accurately, not 100%. And I don't stand by one grading company solely because, well, I think that's a whole different discussion. But a slab like this probably will end up being cracked out just because I'm not too familiar with the company. I try to stick to just the ones that are more well known. So that was it for the slabs. Let's go into some of the top loaded cards here. We've got a few big boys at the start, and kind of going through a collection. I'm going to identify right away what are some of the key cards in here. So the one that really stood out among these raw ones I'm leading off with here, and it's this Mac Jones Our Origins patch. And what I kind of think of is that how am I going to at least get back to zero if I'm buying a collection? And this, I think this can apply if you're buying something for yourself or you're buying it strictly for resale. No matter what percentage of it is going to be resale or in pure enjoyment, you can learn something from this just in the sense that you get to kind of prioritize, what's going to stay, what can help me get the most value out of this. So this Mac Jones, for example, very hot player right now. This is a card that I will definitely look to move off of first, and one that really stood out to me as one that can help me uh, push forward in terms of getting back to zero. And then as I get closer to zero, it will also help me be able to lower my prices and give more discounts on the other cards. There's a cool one here, a club level Justin Herbert Silver Prism. And again, like I said earlier, the card is top loaded, it's penny sleeved, and the cards in this collection in general have the appearance that they were really well taken care of. So this might be something that I take out of the top loader and look at potentially as a grading candidate if I wanted to go that route. It will just kind of depend on where I'm at with the rest of the order. But seeing those signs already that the collection was in good shape, to see this now, I have a lot more confidence that this card will be in a condition where I don't have to kind of jump through hoops to sell it, because condition is extremely relevant, especially on these ultra modern cards, just with the nature of returns online and how prevalent grading is. Something that you have to keep in mind, and it's a heavy burden at times, but the less risk that you can incur, the better, of course. So it will be Topin autograph out of 25. That one was actually a pull today. We'll move that to the side. See you later, Jeff. 357, I am a OSU alumni. So, and then we got some Devin Booker rookies in here. I have another one coming up, but this one is from Complete, one of those lower end products, but still, it's a Devin Booker rookie. It provides a nice, solid budget option for someone who wants to buy it. And then you have Ja Morant, Obi Toppin. So rookie cards do generally sell very well for me. I think if you're someone who is doing resale and you sell online, you kind of have to know, what type of players, what type of cards are you selling well. Know what your specialty is. Like these types of parallels are my specialty. I like to pull out the stuff that most people don't have the time to list or don't think it's worth to list. And that's what I tell a lot of my consignees that I bring on, is that I will take care of the stuff that you just don't have time for. And there's some really solid $1 to $20 cards in here that people just may not really see it worth it. I don't know exactly who the original owner of all these were. There's another Devin Booker rookie. There's a Jalen Rager 101 from Certified. But I do know that Damian Lillard, for example, I do sell a fair number of Damian Lillard cards. So that's a player who I can kind of get behind. Another thing that I do like to consider is the price barrier to kind of put up some of these cards. And this goes into what I talked about in that podcast with Ty over on Bench Clear in our the Leap. If you haven't checked it out, uh, I thought it was a fun conversation. You guys can go take a listen. We kind of talk about some of the topics I'm going into today. But looking at some of these cards, just kind of going through in my head, um, you know, can people access a lot of these cards and thinking about it as a collector? So I'm a Miguel Cabrera collector, as I'm sure most know. Here's a gold optic autograph, Lynn Bowden, two bronze autograph there. I'm going through in my head, I'm having a hard time finding parallels for Miggy in a lot of these products, or perhaps if I was collecting a rookie player, getting their RPA may be tough because a lot of these cards have now been locked behind a paywall of sorts. Like for example, this Devonta Smith Origins autograph here. Origins, the cheapest I've seen a box of it is $400, and I saw that one time. Most of the time, they're going to be pushing around $500, and that's a product that is generally like $100 product, or that's what SRP was in normal times. Now it's a lot more, and even though the box prices are 4, 5, 6 times what they used to be, this is something that I really do take into consideration because the singles prices aren't necessarily 4 to 5 times more expensive, but there are less of the singles available. And because of that, usually the demand becomes higher for those singles because there are less of them to go around. So, this Devonta Smith, for example, to be able to access Origins, usually your best break for this, no pun intended, is a group break. And then, even in that case, are you going to take the Eagles in a pick your team break? uh, just for resale. I guess it kind of depends on if the Eagles are at a price point that you want. Maybe you're an Eagles fan and you're not planning to sell them. So Devonta Smith autographs are probably going for more than what a normal receiver of his caliber would be going for. And that's something that is kind of one of those inflation type of things that we see in the hobby today. So to be able to have access to this, I'm not the one who had to pay to open this box. I can pretty much tell that there is one box of Origins in here, and this Devonta Smith is one of the cards that was in said box. Uh, so going in and looking at this card now, I can price this at a price point that maybe closely resembles what it used to be back in the day. Now, am I going to have it in 2018 prices? I can't really afford to do that because I had to pay 2021 prices in a sense to be able to acquire the collection. But being able to acquire these as singles rather than buying the wax and having someone else do the job for me in this case is beneficial for me being able to pass on this and allowing collectors access to some of these cards that are usually locked behind very steep paywalls. So, what's going on, Julian? Here's some more Devonta Smith. So nice Russell Wilson out of 49. So player collectors, team collectors will definitely appreciate having the opportunities to go after some of these. You do have your more common things as well, like this Jalen Hurts optic rated rookie. Again, some of these more common ones I can once I move some of the bigger cards, I can afford to maybe blow out. And then if I'm into them for nothing at one point in time, I can go into potentially going after grading some of those or pursuing a grading submission. So keep rolling on here. Yeah, exactly, Victor. That's Kadarius Toney and these guys too. How fickle things are now. They have one good week and it shoots up tremendously. So go through some of these a little bit faster. And I mean, you'll see a lot of cards here that are just kind of standard relics or parallels. Some of them aren't going to be the biggest players in the world as I go through them here. But again, there are people who do collect them. Like, for example, Rondé Barber, this is out of 49 here. I don't know what format of Prism that's exclusive to, but I don't know exactly how many of those would really be out there. Here's a Zach Wilson card again. These is locked behind a paywall. This Zach Wilson rookie probably goes for more than you would think it would. And that's a quarterback who really hasn't done much of anything this year, but because of how little of it is getting opened comparatively, it does drive up those singles prices. There's a nice Juju Smith-Schuster, Pandora, number to 25, TJ Watt. So Steelers team collectors or player collectors of those guys can access those cards there. Speaking of Kadarius Toney, there he is. I do not. I do not use those. Generally stick to my eBay store and my slabs, as well as just doing it the old-fashioned way, sending people DMs. That's one of the things too, is that as I've been doing this longer and longer, there's a really cool Giannis here. You kind of know like certain guys who collect certain players. For example, our friend Kin over there at Beans Ball Card Blog, who's watching here with us, I know that he collects John Means and he collects WVU alumni. So if I get something that's really cool of them, I'm going to reach out to him, and you kind of get a feel as time goes on for what people want to know about. Like I have people who want to know about inserts of their favorite team. It doesn't matter if it's like a $1 card or a $20 card. They want to know if I get it in. So I will take the time and contact them, or I'll have someone here who's helping me out contact them. We'll get in touch and make sure that they can get access to it. And just making those deals, because it makes it easier on me too. I don't have to take the time to list it and kind of look it over very carefully for conditions. It's just something that is just put it right in there, and it's all said and done. So you kind of see kind of the theme here. A lot of these cards are from the same products. So knowing the types of cards that you have in the collection can also be very beneficial to know what you're working with as well. So I see this red die cut here of Matthew Stafford out of Select, and there's a couple of Select cards in here that have jumped out to me. So this person probably ripped open some Select retail at some point in time. If I were to see cards, for example, from a certain set, like if I saw a DJ LeMahieu Topps Update rookie card just going through a collection that's from 2011 Topps Update, well, you better believe I'm going to be looking through that box very carefully. Here's a couple of James Wiseman autographs here, because then there's a possibility that there's Trout, or even maybe some of the second tier guys that are in 2011 update, like an Anthony Rizzo could be in there, Paul Goldschmidt could be in there. So just those really solid cards, and knowing that they're, if it's something that appears to be someone who ripped a lot of product and has a lot of cards from the same set, then you may be looking at it. Here's a cool LaMelo Shimmer. Oh, no quiz after the video. This is strictly for entertainment or educational purposes. I got to put that disclaimer at the front. What's going on, Rick? No bowling this time around. No bowling this time around. The bowling market is pretty tough to get your foot in the door now. So here's some Anthony Edwards. And again, like a lot of those I can provide people access to for cheap. And I'm not going to look over every single one of these for grading, of course. That's one of the things that I mentioned during the podcast previously, is that, like, for example, this Anthony Edwards here, first glance, it's fairly well centered, maybe a little bit off top to bottom, maybe just a hair. Will I take this out and look to grade it? No, not really. It's not something that I would typically look to grade. Maybe if I just need something to fill out an order, I'll toss it in if it's going to be a 10, in my opinion. But very rarely am I going to grade that base stuff. And even on some of the newer stuff too, I do consider the turnaround times on a lot of this too. So if you're going to be buying a collection with the expectation to grade certain things, you kind of have to know which grading service you're going to use. What's the best one for your needs? Like, for example, this Jamar Chase right here. This may be a card that some people would think, oh, he's favorite for offensive rookie of the year. Let me go ahead and grade this. Well, is Jamar Chase going to stay hot? What if he tears his ACL between now and then? There comes a risk when these cards go out of your collection or out of your possession or inventory, however you want to put it, to send them off for grading, because if you are planning to resell them, then there's a chance that they could go down in value by the time that you get them back, or things could change along the way. So a lot of times, maybe I lose out on some money because, Jamar Chase goes on to be a Hall of Famer. I didn't end up grading this card. Someone else ended up grading it. They got a gem mint 10. People may ask, aren't you worried that you're going to be missing out on that? And no, really, I'm not, because I'm going to sell the card at a price that I need to get for it. Someone's going to be happy with it if they get the gem mint 10 on it, or it brings them some kind of happiness. And especially if it grades well, they're going to come back because they know that I'm not going to sell them crap. Or if I'm going to sell them something that has some kind of defect, then they're they're going to know it up front. I will be open about that so that they can determine exactly what they're getting, know what they're getting, and have that expectation. That's one of the things I think is really important to building a brand. So, if you're looking at a collection like this, of course, you want to maximize your value too, but uh, I wouldn't worry about all the different stuff in there individually and getting the most that you can out of every single card, because you'll drive yourself crazy. And a lot of times you'll miss out on sales, and you'll miss out on sales in a way that you won't be able to kind of go back and then get the price that they had offered before. I've had times on eBay where I turned down an offer, and 2 months later, the same guy's coming back, making an offer for 20% less, 30% less than what they originally offered. And I end up taking it because that's what the card is worth at that time. I said, no, I'm going to roll the dice and I think I can get more. And sometimes it does pay off, of course. There's of course times where you get a low ball offer and you say, no, I'm good. But for the most part, if it's a price that I can say, you know what, I am happy to take this for it, I generally try not to push the envelope a little bit too much as well. And that's a good way to establish rapport too. People don't want you. It's a very strange interaction, I guess, in the hobby, where, of course, the buyer and the seller have conflicting goals at all times, right? There's a cool little one here. It's a Tannehill, but it's one of 500. Uh, when you have conflicting interests like that, there's automatically this tension that is built into any kind of card transaction. But um, I think that buyers definitely do appreciate when they know that you're not trying to take them for every single penny you possibly can. I know that as a Miggy collector, I can definitely appreciate it. And that's why when I know certain guys, or I know what they like to go after in their collections, for their collections, I'm going to cut them a deal because I want them to come back and I want them to be happy too. As a collector, I can understand that feeling. So just uh, golden rule: treat others the way that you want to be treated. Most of us at one point in time, I think a lot of people who sell cards have been collectors at some point in time. And if you haven't, it may be a good idea to just at least try it. Not everyone has that collecting gene, but I think it's definitely beneficial to a lot of people out there to at least give it a shot. And that way you can kind of think like a collector, understand how other collectors think. And not all collectors think the same, of course, but you kind of get this sixth sense, something that can't be taught. It's something that comes with the territory of being a collector. So what's going on, Korean Cardboard? What's up, everybody else? Mac Jones, Donruss rookies, there were 0 in the stack. No Mac Jones, Donruss. But some really solid stuff nonetheless. See here, keep going through these. So optic preview, Khalil Herbert, another one of these. He's having a decent season. I know he's done pretty well against the Lions. That's the only reason I say that. But not a card that I would send off to grade just because I'm going to take advantage of the hot market right now. Same thing here with the Jamar Chase. Apologies if this is running long. I know I'm going to go over 30 minutes here at this point. But that's okay. As long as people are enjoying the content and learning something, I'm trying to go through the cards as quickly and as efficiently as I can. You'll notice that there's a lot of numbered parallels in here too. That's something, again, that I said earlier, just these inserts. A lot of the products have been watered down, especially if you look at Topps. Go watch a Topps pack break from 2016 or 17 update, like a jumbo pack, for example, and then look at it now. There's fewer inserts, fewer color, and more base in today's product, and that's kind of been this trend as time has gone on that you're getting kind of less of those chase cards, if you will. And when that happens, that means that it's tougher. Here's a cool Jordan starting lineup there. It gets tougher to pull certain cards. So, for example, this DeAndre Ayton out of Obsidian boxes are like 400 or 500 bucks, I think. And the base checklist is, I want to say that's 100 players. Maybe it's even more with the rookies. And you get like 2 parallels and 3 base in a pack, I want to say. Maybe I'm off with that. But to even pull a base card, you're going to need multiple cases with perfect collation to get one base card of a single player. And with how expensive boxes are, that's a lot of money that has to be put into the product and have that product opened as well. That's another thing is that people sometimes, especially now, will buy the product and not open it. That's a lot of money just to get one of them out there. And there's certainly more than one person on a lot of the bigger players who want those cards. And I think that's why you're seeing the Tom Brady cards, the LeBron James, some of the really expensive or the most sought after players in the hobby. That's why a lot of their parallels have reached the heights that they have, just because it's tougher to pull an individual player. And even more so for set builders as well. What's going on? BD Kane, he's a perfect example of that. I know if you watch BD Kane's channel, he's an awesome collector, and he has a great Topps Chrome collection. And we've talked a few times about how it's been a little tough for him to find the singles. He's doing the purple refractor set of this year's Topps Chrome baseball, and he's having to pay a little bit more for some of these guys. You know, we're talking $5 cards are now 10 to even $20 cards. There's a really cool Dragon, Christian McCaffrey. So that's another thing with these too, is that if I gave you the number of what I paid for this collection, it was a partial trade and a partial number. It may seem a little bit off, but kind of in today's hobby landscape, it's a little bit different just because, well, things are more expensive in general. And a lot of these cards, like for example, this Otani Odell relic, I'll let you guess in your head what you think this is worth. I had a base relic, Shohei Ohtani from National Treasures, numbered to 99. And I sold it outright on eBay within minutes of putting it up for $100. Now, maybe does that mean that I needed to put it up for more? Well, yeah, you could argue that. But $100 for a base NT relic, it's not a rookie or anything. It's just, it blew my mind. So, you know, that's a card that maybe I thought was like 20 to 30 bucks back in the day, but $100 and instantly, not even an offer made, it was instantly $100. Just shows you that people are willing to pay more on a lot of these singles too. So, yeah, $35 of Chronicles. It's tough. It's tough when you're paying over $1 card. It doesn't feel good a lot of times, and it's really difficult to find products now where that's not the case. Like I did a case of Archives baseball, and that was less than $1 a card, and it was actually a huge like relief. It was a lot of fun to do it, and I was able to actually give out good prices on it too. Yeah, definitely for sure, Julian. I felt the same way with the golds. They seem like they are uh, definitely a special occasion to pull, where it used to be it was almost an expectation to pull them. What's going on, Don? Sounds good, sir. I will check that out here after we finish up. I haven't seen much mosaic myself with Miggy Kin. It's not too many singles out there getting listed. Yeah, you see Saul there, kind of talking about the point we had earlier. Here's a cool one here. So again, De'Ami Brown, RPA out of 10. I imagine that if you pulled De'Ami Brown from a hobby box to certified, considering they are like 400 plus, you'd probably be a bit disappointed to kind of make your box worth it in a sense. On certified, you need one of the big quarterbacks, or I guess Jamar Chase. But this thing is out of 10. It's got the a nameplate patch there. And I'm sure that someone will want to add this in. What's also nice about this is that I know that I'm going to a collection or a show this weekend in North Carolina. And I believe De'Ami Brown played at North Carolina. Maybe I'm confusing him with someone else, but again, this is something that's local interest. So a lot of times I will try to target cards. If I'm going to cherry pick a collection, I can target cards that I know I have an audience for. If I know someone who might like it, then that opens me to a possibility. Never bank on that person buying it, but a lot of times you can at least kind of make it so that you kind of know a way that you have an out on some of the cards. A couple little random baseballs here. I agree, David. It's a fun rip, and the cards are not necessarily the ones that are gonna. Here's a random Honus Wagner Hall of Fame heroes in there. Those cards aren't necessarily the ones that are going to be the comic cards that are behind lock and key in the showcases, but they're fun. And that's really what the hobby is about. And there's ways to still enjoy it. And that's really the thing of my store is that I do try to provide an experience for everyone, provide a opportunity to buy at all budgets. Not everyone can buy $100 card every single week. Some people don't even spend $100 in the hobby a month, and some people just they don't want to, or they just don't have the means to. And I think that their price should not be a barrier to anyone enjoying the hobby. Should just be enjoy it and have an option for everyone. So that was the collection. My mouth kind of hurts from talking so much. I'm not used to doing these long videos, but I hope that you guys did enjoy this video. It definitely ran longer than I expected. What else is new? Uh, but it was fun and I enjoyed doing those live. So if this is something that you want to see more of in the future, I would be definitely glad to show off more collections like this and kind of converse live, or maybe do a premiere where I can just chat with you guys instead and we watch the video together, or just reply in the comments, just do a standard upload. But again, let me know what you think of today's video. I really appreciate you spending your time with me, especially if you stayed all 37 minutes of me showing off cards and rambling. It's time for me to get back to work and get some of these put up in the store and inventoried. So until next time, take care, stay safe, be kind.